This is Black Social Capital. This is Black Social Capital.
What's good? What's good? What's good, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Black Social Capital Podcast. Dr. Theo here, excited to get us into the show today. Good to see Dr. Jackie alongside, as always. Today's episode is going to be an interesting episode. We're going to do some reflection and some throwbacks on some past episodes that we've talked with people and figure out how we put anything that they've talked about into practice. So today we're going to go way back to season 1. This is before you saw what our faces look like. And it was like, oh, they sound great. They must know what they're talking about. But we had some great guests on the show in season 1. So if you haven't gone back and listened to those episodes, definitely go back, grab that Spotify link. We'll include it in the show notes below. But some great episodes. You remember season 1, Dr. Jackie?
Look, I remember it. 2020 was a year for us.
It was a year and a time was had.
Yeah, it was.
So
we got so much done that year.
Look, we jumped into the deep end and we still treading water and doing our thing.
Yep.
So today we're gonna dig into the crates. We're gonna hear a clip from one of our favorite guests, Dr. Jackie, Dr. Tracy Dumas, who's an amazing professor, and she talks a little bit about work-life balance, how we can manage things professionally as well as personally. Thinking about where those lines cross and where they blur. So we're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna react to this clip from 2020 and see where we are as it relates. So bear with us. Here we go, and we'll see you on the other side.
I really was interested in this question of how do we help people manage their multiple roles and identities? And then in particular, as an organization, from a management standpoint, how can we help people to be excellent at work, but recognize that that doesn't have to come at the expense of their personal identities, their personal roles, their lives outside of.
All right. How do we be excellent but still manage our life outside of work? I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Jackie. What's some of your first thoughts on this clip?
Yeah. So I loved that interview with Dr. Dumas. And her her scholarship and all of the, literature, or all of her contributions to like the literature are really outstanding. So definitely take a look at that episode. There are a few episodes that we go back to a lot, and this is one of them. And we talk about like maybe not so much on the actual air when we're in the podcast, but when we're just chit-chatting. But anyways, yeah, I definitely feel like this is something that I'm lucky enough to benefit from and contribute to. So in the department that I work in, and in a few places that I've worked in, there's a lot of effort to be sure that people have the ability to have a work-life balance and also to remember to do it even during our busy times. So one, it's nice to just benefit from that being the work culture. So it's nice not to be in one of those toxic work environments where it's like the more you do, the better, to the at the expense of everything else. Oh well, right? That's the case for so many people, so many places. And I'm grateful that I have not had a career that that is just the culture of the field.
Mhm.
I think this is I think working in higher education, it's a very conscientious field, and people do get burnt out. Don't get me wrong, right? But I just think that we have the knowledge and the scholarship because in this particular field, because we're focused on human development, right? So
Right.
anyway, out of the theoretical, for me, with my supervisors and leadership that I report to, it is important to me that I am making sure that all of the stuff that I'm supposed to do is done by me and not falling on their plates, and that I'm not stopping them too often or too much to get help and feedback on my things. I try to give them like substantive stuff to look at, and not all of the bits and pieces of every little project that I'm working on. And then for my colleagues, the same, as well as helping out wherever I can, uh, knowing that different areas in different parts of my department have like busy times and slow times. So keeping that in mind, like I know it's y'all's busy time and this is something I can do to help you. That helps them, right, be able to close their computers at 5 o'clock or whatever time they off work. And then for the people that report to me, it's really direct conversations. It's encouraging them to take vacation. It's listening um, for things they tell me about their, like, how they want to structure their lives. Or not how they want to structure their lives, but like things that they want to do. So it's like really listening for things like, oh, I want to do this thing with my family, or I have friends in town for however much time. That is opportunity for me as a supervisor to go, well, let's be sure that you work from home, or do you have enough vacation time, or just whatever we can do. Let's go ahead and arrange your day so that you are off work earlier. Like, let's really make sure that when something is coming up for you, when something is meaningful to you, when there are people who are in your personal life that improve your personal life, like if those people are around, like let's make sure you get some quality time in. And then also just making sure I don't make requests that would cause them to work outside of their working hours. um I make sure that I tell people, if I email you late at night, because sometimes I do end up working a little bit late. Doesn't happen a lot. I have good work-life balance. But if I do end up working late one night, don't feel the need to respond to me. And most of the time, I don't even need to do that or feel bad about sending emails late because we got the schedule send, right? So if you get something from me right at 8 a.m., know that I probably did that at 8 p.m., right? Or later. But yeah, that doesn't happen a whole lot. But when it does happen, I try to make sure that I'm not expecting people to work outside of their work hours. As
Yeah,
long as
yeah.
they can.
I think, um, I think that is great to have that perspective from someone that manages people, right? That you're on the lookout for others as a part of your role. Um, but I think for me, um, even in just thinking about work-life balance, I think, especially when you're a young professional, like you have a clear idea of what your work looks like, right? I come in at this time, I finish the day at this time, right? That schedule is pretty set. But then when you come to the life portion, that portion is chaotic, right? So, you know, like have some things that you do that fill your life, right? Like if you don't have anything on your calendar for personal, then you can't have a work life balance because you ain't figured out your life yet, right? So that means you need to be going to some classes, right? Um, Doing things for the first time, right? I know Dr. Jackie loves to go out and have social activities and party, right? But those parties be on the calendar, right? So it's part of the schedule, and if you can schedule things for your personal life, then you also have the opportunity to create that balance for you, right? If your calendar is empty on your personal side but full on your work side, you're always gonna gravitate to the work because that's the only thing that you got, right? So I think about when I'm talking to young professionals, mid-career professionals, it's like there's a time for work and there's a time for play, and you gotta respect both. Sometimes those overflow, but again, if you don't have anything scheduled on the personal side, you can't create the balance. And then same thing on the work side, right? If you got all your personal things planned, but work is tiptoeing and you don't know what to do there, also a problem for balance. So, those are some of the things I think about too.
Yep. Yeah. It's interesting because I think that it's easy to be like, well, scheduling and putting stuff on my calendar and just organizing my time in that way, it feels really structured. uh, And it is also a very professional skill. But if you don't keep a calendar, I mean, I don't know how I'm type A personality, so I don't
You are?
understand. Look, I don't understand how anybody exists without looking at their calendar like 10 times a day because everything got to be in the calendar. But it is important. Like it is I think it's looked at as a really professional skill, but it's not. Like it is a life skill to go like this is when I am going to visit my family. This is when I am going to hang out with my friends. This is when I am going to chill by myself, right? Or go do something by myself that I like to do. I think it is really important.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've mentioned a little bit in other episodes, like how we keep ourselves organized and the calendar is part of that. But I think, um, like even socially, like there's things that we look forward to, right? So even if we take this summer, it seemed like everybody and everybody's mama was counting down the days that they can go see Beyonce, right? It was on the calendar. You was waiting for your date, right? When you fill your personal side of your calendar up, it helps to, I think what Dr. Tracy said, it gives you that recovery time, right? Like you
Mhm.
stop what you were doing in terms of work, and these other activities allow you to refill that cup, replenish yourself so that you can go back out and do some of the other things that take a little bit more energy and things like that, right? So, you know, I know folks that had to go 2 and 3 times to get their cup filled up, at Renaissance. I was like, cool, do what you got to do to make your world correct, right? And so sometimes I feel like people feel guilty about that, like, oh, like I took time for myself, or it sounds like I'm hanging out too much. You gotta do things for you to make sure that you not only are surviving, right? Maybe your workplace is toxic, and like these concerts is gonna give you life to make it through the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you know, or whatever it is. So definitely get you some hobbies, some things that's gonna refill your cup, give you some things to look forward to.
I love it.
Mhm. So what how are you filling up your cup? What gives you that reprieve, Dr. Jackie?
Look at I don't even know where to start because I am very, very busy professionally. And I have one of those positions where I feel like I am paid to think and solve like problems and use strategies. So my mind is always going. And to be honest, I do believe that I have good work-life balance. Like I claim that. But there are times when it's just like, well, I was up late doing my hair this week. And I mean, it was like 2 in the morning. But I solved like there was something that I had been trying to fix for like a year. The solution came to me, right? So I think that what you were saying about like filling up your cup, like it is so important because you, yes, this really works for me. But let's talk about all of the things that I do. Um, So I have a dope friend group that I like to hang out with, talk to, chit chat. I do think it's really important to cultivate friendships as relationships. So, I mean, I have a partner and life is great. And that is also a relationship that I'm constantly trying to cultivate. But I think that um, being sure that you are getting to know your friends, knowing what's going on with them, being honest about what's going on with you, letting them really see you for who you are, and allowing not only for yourself to like gracefully change as you get older and go through different things in life or just more mature, like to also let them do it and realize that they're not changing up like people are supposed to change. And that lets you support people when they need to be supported, because it is important like to be there when people are going through things, because that's one of the main thing that's the main thing that people remember is like, who was there when I was going through something. One, you got to know what's going on with your friends. It's terrible to find out that a friend has been going through something and you had no clue and you could have helped, right? So I cultivate friendships with people very intentionally. If I haven't seen or talked to somebody in a while, I'm trying to get on a calendar. If you live in a city, let's go for a walk. Let's get some coffee. If you don't, hop on Zoom, have some tea with me or some wine, depending on what the day looking like, right? So cultivating friendships is really important to me, and always having stuff to look forward to as well. I feel like because I live in a major city, yeah, I love the Bay Area. Because I live in a major city, there's so much to do here. So I'm always looking out for events that are interesting, but not to fill my calendar up constantly, just to be in touch with my local community and be supporting my local community and spending money in my local community, um, and doing things that I'm interested in on a fairly regular basis. So life does not get boring because I have not only events and stuff that I get to go to, but I also have like friendships. Of course, I don't mean just friendships with just like people that I'm not related to. I also cultivate relationships with family members. I do like to think of, some of the people, like some of my besties, right? Even though, you be like your parents, not your little friends, but there's a certain type of friendship you can develop with parents and other relatives, and I try to do that as well. And then self-care routine, and I mean that is really interesting when you think about work from home, because it's so easy to be like, well, can't nobody see I didn't wash my face. I mean, that's probably a bad example because they could probably see the crust in your eyes. But can't nobody tell maybe I didn't brush my teeth yet, right? I just hopped out of bed and came to this meeting. Like it's very easy to do that. And then the whole day go by and you're like, ooh, wait, I never even got around to this teeth brushing thing. This is horrible, right? So I think keeping a good routine, and just kind of taking care of my body, moving around, being active. I like about myself that I'm cool with home workouts, right? So that makes things really easy for me in terms of staying active. I understand that's not everybody's thing, but I found some stuff that works for me. So I think all of that really helps. I do some meal prepping, try new recipes. That's something I like to do. I also don't like to like struggle to figure out what every single meal is. That's terrible. But I can eat leftovers. You can't.
Look, I can eat leftovers.
Do
It's
not
it's
like
just that
leftovers.
it's just that, the leftovers gotta be like every other day. Like unless the meal is like super super dope, then I got Monday, Tuesday, right? But usually if I eat it on Monday, I don't want to eat it again until Wednesday. Just to make it seem like I got some variety. That's all. You know.
And then Wednesday coming, you still don't want that, but okay.
Hey, hey, sometimes it be like that. I'm not the only
Mhm.
one.
So
I'm
what
not
about
the only
you?
one. I mean, I um I think I'm pretty loyal to my activities that I like to do. Like there's spots that I like to frequent
Mhm.
that host their own events. Sometimes they mix them up, but I'm when I'm trying to chill and kick back, I do one of a couple things. One, I'm doing like small group kickbacks where we're having like wine or uh, we're trying out or watching a game, right? Like those are things that are small group things for me that I like. Um, but I also am like, what do I do to turn my brain off when I'm not thinking about work? I'm probably hopping on my PS5 and playing a one player, game or trying to beat some levels, right? Like, and that allows me to just not do anything. Also, it's like stuff I can do on my own by myself, right? So I think that's always important. Um, yeah, and I think one of the things that is like a not even a blurred line for me when we're talking about what we do to replenish work at home. I'm always asking um, people around me like what's going on with them, like how can I be of help or listen to or service. And even though that could be draining for some people, for me, like it's an easy thing for me to ask. That doesn't take away from my cup too much, but I think a lot of times like people just don't have someone to just listen to whatever story or things like that. So there's a few people that I add to the circle every couple years. So I'm like, all right, let me take a larger, a deeper role in how I want to grow this space. So I think about that often, and yeah, I spent a lot of time on Canva. Like that's my recovery space. I'm like, oh, let me create this or let me doodle this. You know what? I wanna show the people. Dr. Jackie, I
Okay.
know you're going to see Janelle Monet
I am.
coming up
Oh,
soon. And you
yes.
was like, I need something extra special. I need something extra special. I was
And
like, give me a moment. Let me see what my Canva fingers can do. So show the people what you're gonna be rocking at the Janelle Monet concert.
all right, let me get.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this cute crop top. I found a lyric, and look at what he did. Wait, I can't see.
Hey.
So if you know the song Float, she go, my face card don't come with a limit. I swipe it, I spin it, I swear I be doing the most. And then he put this. Oh, let me get close.
Hey.
Hold on. I done knocked my mic over. Yeah, so and it has the like exact point on Spotify. I don't know how to describe that thing, but that is dope. You are dope.
My head got big.
Look.
But yeah, so doing little creative things like that is a good outlet for me that creates some space for work and play. But yeah, I just try to keep it in mind for people. Like you can't be all work, you can't be all play. You gotta
Mhm.
find somewhere in the middle, and you gotta find people that's gonna allow you to create those spaces as well, right? You can't do it with everybody. Like I always think it's interesting when workplaces is like we're a family or we're your friend group. I'm like, no, you you are the workplace. Like
Mhm.
I owe you this amount of time, right? And so I think when those lines start to blur, that's where you see more and more folks get that burnout space where it's because that they've gotten it confused. Like, hey, this team building at the bar or at work, that's still work, right? It's not your personal play space because you didn't design it and create it, right? So when those lines start to blur, you have to remind yourself, like, this hasn't been my recovery space. I'm still at work per se. Like, you might get some friends from work, right? But you have to level set and give them a different context than how y'all operate at work, right? So that's something I think about too. So I don't know. I think in season one, that's something that we definitely have held on to, even as we grow, in our careers and in our space. And we thought it was, pertinent to bring it back up to the squad. So let us know down in the comments, right? Let us know, even, on Instagram, what you think about, your work-life balance, how you keep it set for yourself. We might even put this in the show notes, on Spotify, as well as a question that you can answer. We'd love to hear your responses. So anything else we got to say on this, Dr. Jackie?
I have a couple more thoughts.
What
Well,
you
not a
got?
couple more, but okay, look. So I think it's really easy to talk about like our work-life balance, our philosophies and stuff, but the reason that I wanted to talk about this today is because not I think, Dr. Theo and I are watching people like left and right burn out of their careers. And I mean, people invest so much into their professional lives, and we live in a capitalistic society. You can't necessarily afford to be like, I'm going to do really great work for about 15 years, and then I'm done with this. Like, you can switch careers. And we talk about pivots a lot here,
Mhm.
but you can't necessarily just like opt out of capitalism, right? Like, most of us don't have the wealth to stop working after 15, 20 years in a career. So I think that that's another thing that needs to be said, is that it is real. And I think that we're just at a point where people, like all of the people in our friend groups and maybe some people in our families too, as well as some coworkers, like we're watching people at a certain point in their careers, kind of like that 15, 20-year mark that they've been working or out of college or whatever. Like those, some people, not all of them, of course, right? But a lot of people are starting to burn out in some ways that, you know, it's just really hard to watch. It's really unfortunate to see.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think that Dr. Theo and I have given a lot of information today on how we have cultivated our professional lives, how we've cultivated our personal lives, and dealt with our work life balance and blending and blurring and all of that, because we are not really, no, we're not in a position where we're about to burn out of our careers. And,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm watching people like their mental health, right? It's a huge toll on your mental health when you're burning out of your career because you can't opt out of capitalism.
Mhm.
Um, and then also, I mean, if I'm being real, people who over identify, this is not necessarily the same group of people. There's another group of people who just in general over identify with their careers, right? Like,
Mhm.
I am a medical doctor or whatever, right? And that's their whole personality. And that's not fun to be around. And it kind of contributes to this toxic capitalistic society where that's the most important thing is your career. It's not. I don't know.
Right. What
I'm
other
trying to sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, what other layers are there for you, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
you don't get tired of being boring, or one
Being
layer,
at what?
like, even Shrek said, "I'm an onion. I got layers." I mean, you ain't gonna show us just one more layer. Like, all right, okay.
Yeah,
So,
I'm trying to stop asking people like when I first meet them, like, what do you do? Right? Like it's interesting to know kind of what field people work in, but I don't know. There's so much place setting that happens, right? People are trying to figure out like, oh, are you someone I should respect, right? Or I don't know, like there's layers to that question. So I'm trying to get out of that and try to get to know the human in front of me and not contribute to that culture of like you people being defined by what they do. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts. That's why it's important. So that's why you should go in the comments and tell us how you
Hey,
do it because we want to
smash
know.
that like and subscribe. Mhm. No, I think that that's very true, right? But I think, you know, as we try to build social capital, there's social capital for different spaces, right? So if you need that professional look, great. Like, make sure you understand that layer for that person, but also understand, like, hey, there's an opportunity here for me to either access or identify other layers with this group of people or with this person, right? And you might not, I mean, not all layers are for everybody, right?
Mhm.
But I think it's definitely important to explore what those layers could be because I mean, even when you look, on a professional site like LinkedIn, right, and you see, what people do professionally, and you see the connections, right? Somebody might have thousands and thousands of connections. That's cool. That's thousands of connections on one level, on one layer, right? When you look at people personally, um, most folks have a handful of people that they really kick it with, that they really, know for sure on multiple levels. So, if you haven't started to figure out who those core people are for you, I think that that's something to start thinking about too. That can help with the work-life balance, those type of things. And, what I've noticed even as an advisor for college students and folks early in their career, like there's something in these Gen Z generations where it's getting to learn people and getting to know people is a skill that can be very anxiety ridden for lots of folks, right? So
Mhm.
what type of questions do I ask? Da, 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 like how do I make a friend one on one is a thing that can be stressful for lots of folks, right? So all I'm saying at this point is if you're in that space where you're like, man, you know, I haven't figured this portion out, give yourself some time, give yourself some space. Um, and don't think you have to have 10 friends at once. Work on one person, right? Try to be consistent with that person. You build from there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think it's one of those things that compounds, right? Once you figure it out the first time, you can duplicate that. Once you have two or three folks in your space, you can, definitely build upon that. So, um, those are some things that I think folks don't often see as connected, but are,
Mhm.
in some ways that could be helpful as you try to navigate work life balance.
And I also want to add sometimes you do meet people who you really vibe with at work and they become real friends. So there's someone or there are a couple people from a couple jobs ago for me that I still connect with. I make it a point to like they have become my friends. Like it was very clear when we first met that they were great. And we enjoyed working together and we spent time together like at lunch and stuff at work as well as outside of work together at that point. But now it's at a point where we haven't worked together for 5 maybe 10 years. It's been a long time. And I just went to a baseball game with a past coworker that is now my friend, right? And had coffee and got to see the new babies of a different coworker. So definitely happens. So manage that, right?
Mhm.
And know your people. You don't have to over compartmentalize. But there is some compartmentalization that is necessary. But doing it so much that you miss out on potential actual friendships is, yeah, you don't have to do that.
I hear it. I hear it. Well, anything else that we should leave people with today?
No, that was a lot.
There was a lot, but I think that we're gonna keep doing these episodes where we do a little bit of reflection, think about what people have already shared with us, that helps you take yourself to the next level. We're looking forward to the next episode, our next guest. And if you like this episode, share it with someone, maybe that person that you think is looking and searching for ways to improve the balance that they have in both work and life. And as we always say, we'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.
Yep. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. Remember, the way we build social capital is to build self and build others. We are sure you got some notes on your tablet, computer, or even using a pen and paper. Leave us a review, continue the conversation on social media at Black Social Cap, and share the show with someone you know. Until the next episode, stay motivated, rise together.